right, so this is our PSA project on deforestation, and our target audience for this is big business because we believe that they are the only ones that can truly put an end to this. I am Joe.
Hey guys, I'm Quajo.
I'm you.
I'm Hunter. I'm Gavin.
And I'm Matthew.
One reason why deforestation is important because trees undergo a natural process called transpiration, which is when the leaves of trees secrete water, which is then evaporated into the atmosphere. When trees are cut down in a forest, it eliminates or decreases the amount of transpiration, which means the amount of rainfall in the area will decrease, and this can lead to major droughts in an area.
My article talked about some of the causes of deforestation, and it listed that farming, grazing of livestock, mining, and drilling all combine to account for almost half of deforestation. And the other causes would be natural causes like wildfires and human factors.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean, one thing that my article said that I thought made it sound like a long-term problem was that they're taking rid of all these trees, and that itself is bad, but then they're uprooting a lot of the soil, and that's ruining a lot of the water conservation, and there's a lot of the nitrogen and stuff like we learned about in class that's like kept in there that helps plants grow again. So not only is it taking out the trees, it's making it so you can't grow quality ones in that area again.
So it's really like kind of like a tumultuous effect. It's affecting also the other things around in the biosphere, ecosystem, all that. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's really crazy how once you get down to the nitty-gritty of the science, how all of the different aspects of the environment play a role together. The part of my article that I found interesting that kind of relates is they're discussing that a big part of deforestation is removing trees to have livestock and to grow the corn to feed all the livestock, and that also kind of creates an adverse effect because there are significant rates of methane that come from growing cattle because one molecule of methane is 20 times stronger than a molecule of CO2. So that's kind of taking an even more negative approach and taking away from our environment on top of removing the trees that help regulate the carbon levels.
Well, this is like a lot of little issues. The reason that we chose the topic that we did is it all goes back to big business because with the methane, they're making the food industry that has all that. They're the ones that are tearing down all the trees in the first place. And that's why we feel like if we can get them to change their minds a bit on this, that will make the greatest possible change.
It's all about how, especially in the United States, how we perceive the environment and how we view it as an entity. We see it as a commodity. We see it like being able to control, and we think that nature is like a separate place, but nature's all around us, like we're part of nature. And so it's like deeply rooted in the perceptions that Americans have of nature and how we just value it. So a big part in like being able to restore and like make giant efforts towards like solving climate change and tackling like deforestation issues is to get to the root of the problem with these big businesses.
Also, in my article, it talks about some ways that we can prevent this, and a lot of companies are actually illegally mining, and they're cutting down trees illegally. So there's organizations and activists that are working to fight this.
All right. In addition to this, as discussed earlier in this podcast about the big business and how they're affecting deforestation, article that I've researched, a study by Caddy McCoy, and she's involved with the Carbon Disclosure Project, and she did a study which basically suggests that almost a quarter of company revenues depend on deforestation-linked commodities. So, as was stated earlier, these commodities are like cattle products, soy, palm oil, and timber products. And was found in the study basically that with these big businesses that they need to start worrying about how much deforestation they're doing and the commodity linked to it, because if they only see it as a source of profit, what happens when that deforestation, those materials, they run out, then that could negatively affect those same big businesses. So that is a real, thing they need to look at when it comes to deforestation. It also helps them, along with, the ecosystem, biosystem, to worry about how many trees and things of that nature that they're cutting down.
I agree.
So
Yeah, you said you had some personal experience with this.
yeah, like from a major, I used to stay in the landscape architecture. So I learned some landscape around the world, like the European people just cut their most of tree, just make them to a boat and just during the war and all the forests just disappeared, and right now the island is just like a turtle. Nothing.
It's very barren.
Yeah, and because I'm from China, so I just saw something happen in China. And why I'm interested because I find some topic about the richer country take care of their forest better. So I reminded me what people did in China, like when people build the new country in China and they just want to build fast. They don't want to understand the landscape. They don't want to use the mountain, use the river. If something just block them shove all those things over and move it to another place and just make it flat and just build some same style communities over again. And what they did for the trees, they just cut them down. And when they want to make the community greener, so just buy some new little trees and replant it. So I think it is cost too much money and make a lot of waste.
All right.
So that's pretty much the gist of our PSA, and we hope that we've at least informed some people out there about the topic, maybe persuaded some people to not be as terrible to the environment. Yeah.
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 All right. See you guys.
All right.
Okay.